What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unhinged Talk. I'm your host, Patrick Hennessy, joined by Brandon Kramer. The Yankee season has come to an end.
Fuck Aaron Boone.
You know, the Yankees had a lot of high points, mostly low points this season. But I guess today what I really want to do is break down what went wrong for this team. Because going into the season, we know that they had expectations higher than our wildest imaginations. They were World Series favorites neck and neck with the Dodgers. And then once it came down to crunch time, they disappeared in the ALDS. They struggled heavily during key points in the season. So let me ask you for your opinion. What went wrong for the Yankees this year in a season where they had so much hope?
I mean, even before it was a COVID-shortened season, on paper, they actually were expected to win it all. I mean, if you looked top to bottom, that rotation, Cole, fully healthy Severino, Tanaka, coming off of an all-star year, James Paxton, who after the all-star break looked untouchable, and Jordan Montgomery. I mean, and then if it was a full season, you would have had the potential of Domingo Germán returning. I mean, but then even in spring training, Sevy goes down. We find out Paxton needed back surgery and can't extend fully. Injuries, and Judge and everything. Then COVID shuts it down. So they're going to be fine. Paxton comes back throwing 90, and we're like, oh shit. Sevy needed Tommy John. Tommy Kahnle is on the list of the many pitchers that were a victim of a short season. And then they started off hot, carried by the offense, and then when it came down to struggle, they didn't have a manager to push them.
Yeah. And that was really the main thing. But going into the season after COVID shut everything down in spring training, everybody was really saying that the Yankees were the team that benefited the most from COVID shortening the season, mainly because if the season would have started on time, they would have been without many of their key players, without Judge, without Stanton. And even with the COVID shortened season, they faced so many injuries this season to the point where they didn't have a fully healthy team on the field until the last couple of days of the regular season. Like, this can't keep happening every year. And then when it does happen, like you said, they need a manager to be able to push them through the tough spots in the season. Now, obviously, the entire season does not get blamed on Aaron Boone. No. However, when a team performs this poorly after having such high expectations, you have no choice but to look at the manager.
I mean, I will say this, and this might be a shock to you. Managers can change, so you just gotta. If the Yankees are to pick up that option for Aaron Boone, I believe you have one more year to prove it. If you don't prove it, we're shipping you out. I think Boone 2018 terrible. 2019, in terms of bullpen management, was decent. He seemed to fire up the team at times when needed. We still don't know what goes on in that clubhouse.
We never will.
But this year, I think Boone kind of took this year maybe as COVID season. Kind of like
a lot of them did.
I think a lot of players in baseball did that as well. It's very hard to get yourself, when you've been training all winter, to get psyched up for something this big. And for people that say, oh, Cashman at the deadline, I am one of the people that support not going at it at the deadline. There wasn't really anyone available. And especially with how we don't know what's going to happen with the free agent market, it did not make sense to trade for rentals at that moment. We were just a victim of, honestly, the short season. But in terms of the injuries, I mean, you have to put blame. Now, there are Yankee fans that like to get on Giancarlo Stanton. Yeah, Stanton's been injury prone. Stanton plays through his injuries. I think it's time Yankee fans need to give Aaron Judge the same type of energy. Because if I had to make a decision today whether to re-sign Aaron Judge or not, I am not re-signing him.
No, I don't think most Yankee fans would, because how can you re-sign a guy that's not staying on the field? You just can't.
And even in that little Twitter thread by, was it Clappish, who said that the Yankees are not looking to extend Judge until he can prove a fully healthy year. Also, it's time to move on from Gary Sanchez. I'm one of his biggest supporters. But now finding out that they look to trade him in August, and I mean, there's being bad. Like, Didi went through a disgusting slump at one point, who didn't have a hit in like a month. Judge has gone through a bad slump. Gary was in a 60-game slump. Like, completely overmatched, loss of fundamentals. And I don't think, honestly, yeah, you can blame it on Marcus Timms, but then you look at what Marcus Timms has done to Gio Urshela and what he's done to Luke Voigt as well. Like,
yeah.
I think it's time now. I'm not saying go get Real Muto because you should not pay a catcher who's going to be 30, 31, $200 million in the most demanding position in
No, but
baseball.
I would give him like a 4-year, $100 million deal.
He wants $200 million.
He's not going to get. I can't see him getting $200 million.
Let me check. Who's his agent? Who? If it's
Probably
Boris,
Boris.
he's going to get it.
Yeah,
If it's
it might be Boris. But I think I'm kind of in disagreement with you there. I think not necessarily Real Muto, but I think the Yankees need to make a big splash. Because I was listening to the R2C2 podcast the other day. Great podcast, by the way. CC Sabathia is an absolute legend. But CC was mentioning, he's like, when guys enter the season, knowing that they're World Series favorites and they think they have a legitimate shot at the title, and they see yet another ALDS exit, it has to start impacting you mentally, thinking like, wow, maybe we just can't get the job done. And when the player enters the season thinking his team could win, and then they once again exit in the ALDS, bro, imagine if that was you. Like, the thoughts would have to be creeping up in your mind whether or not this team is actually capable of winning a title.
I truly, actually, his agent is not Boris. That's surprising. I think they're fully capable, and next year, if they're fully healthy, they will be. But if they're going to win a World Series, we are going to need to see dramatic change from Aaron Boone next year, or a new manager.
The whole philosophy has to change.
The team has the
Everything
talent.
has to change.
And I truly believe Boston kicked our ass, but then you looked at what Boston did to everyone, and they probably thought, okay, they did it to everyone. I think this is a prime kick to the fucking nuts. It's like, not only could the Yankees have won that series, but they gave it away.
They did. And that's because of the poor philosophy in the clubhouse.
I truly believe, I mean, of course, 2017 hurts a lot more than everything. I think this one hurts even more because,
yeah.
And I think if this doesn't energize the team, next year's going to, if we have a full season next year, it's going to be a real test of this team. Are they going to be in the playoffs this year? Yeah, we know. But this is a big year. We know we're going to re-sign DJ. I think Tanaka's either going to re-sign with us or go back to Japan. Makes sense.
Listen, if Tanaka leaves, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Well, if Tanaka leaves, I mean, a lot of money's coming off the books this year. Yankee fans don't seem to realize that. And the last time we had a lot of money come off the books, Cashman made a bunch of signings all around. We got our workhorse ace, so we don't need to drop $300 million. Yes, we could get Bauer, but if they don't go and get Bauer, there are still some really solid starting.
If you lose Tanaka, I think Bauer becomes a must, like a 1,000% must do.
Yeah, just I don't. If we don't get Bauer, I don't think it's going to be to blame Cashman. I think it's going to be just Bauer not wanting to come here.
Yeah, but you could also blame that on the Yankees organization because he probably knows that they would limit his personality and not let him be himself.
I mean, in a way, but then you see CC had his podcast. They talked about everything. But then again, I think Bauer's also going to go to a team that most benefits his own brand, like his YouTube channel. And first team that pops into my head is San Diego. You know they're going to pay him. He always says it's 1 year deal, 1 year deal. Let's see if he's, for some reason, I keep thinking, watch him like sign like a 2 year deal, 3 year deal. But
I can see him doing like a 5-year deal, but like with an opt out after every season.
After a year,
I could definitely see something like that happening. Because a 1 year deal for a guy like Bauer just seems like, I don't know, it just seems a little bit unrealistic.
Yeah. But I mean, then in terms of now, everyone's saying the biggest blow was Tommy Kahnle getting hurt. There was no relief pitchers to trade for to get him, and especially in this season, there was really no teams that were selling. If you think about it, and this
I know, but bro, like we say that, but then it's also like, as the general manager of the Yankees, like Brian Cashman had to realize that this year was a prime opportunity. The biggest team in your way was the Tampa Bay Rays. And the Tampa Bay Rays are a very beatable team. If the Yankees had a few extra arms in that bullpen, or one better starter, they would have beat the Rays. When you look at a season like this and you see, all right, the price for Josh Hader is a little bit high, but that would be the piece we need this season to win the World Series in a year where we don't have any legitimate competitors in the American League. It's not like the past couple years where Boston was the clear juggernaut. Houston was the clear juggernaut. This year, Tampa was a very good team, but they were not unstoppable like previous American League contenders. So at that point, I think you have to realize you got to make the move that puts the dagger in the chest of other teams and put yourself as that clear favorite, and they didn't do it.
I mean, getting Hader was impossible. They wanted Dominguez. And smart not to. They wanted Dominguez and at least Frazier.
But you know that wasn't going to happen. There's no chance.
But the Brewers weren't backing down from that. The Brewers are not going to move on from Josh Hader unless they get blown away by an offer. And rightfully
even give me
so.
Archie Bradley though, bro, because it's like this postseason we had 3 reliable arms out of the bullpen. That's not going to win you a title. Especially when you don't have the deepest rotation.
Archie Bradley, you got him for nothing, but he ain't no Tommy Kahnle. But anyway,
he's not a Tommy Kahnle, but he's better than Adam Ottavino and Nick Nelson.
Yeah, I believe I think they were just hoping on Ottavino turning around. That's going to be a big year for Ottavino. We need him. I think if we're speaking about the offseason, if Liam Hendricks in a Yankees uniform just sounds right. Yeah. Like Cashman loves hard-throwing righties.
Yeah, and they don't really have any besides Green. Reliable ones, that is. Because you can count Nelson if you want to, but he's still an unproven arm.
Nelson, the Yankees, I will say this. The Yankees, their farm in terms of pitchers, they got some guys that have potential. They have some potential to be.
Always do, though.
Yeah, but more than previous years. I'm sorry, they got some great guys that I can see being in the. One guy, if Albert Abreu or Luis Hill don't turn into starters, they can be great bullpen.
Remember Chance Adams?
That elbow injury screwed him, but still,
we thought he was the next big thing. All I'm saying is that, as Yankee fans, it sucks because for so many years we were looking towards the prime of this core. And in 2017, we thought we were a little bit early and we were just grateful for even getting to that point. We just wanted that core to get some playoff experience. And now as the years keep going by, how many years are you going to keep choking the playoffs? Something has to change. And I think, honestly, pitching wasn't even the main problem this year. It was the offense not being able to come through when they needed to the most. Even when they won in Game 4, they still didn't hit with runners in scoring position. That's a philosophy that the Yankees have just completely strayed away from within the past few years. The only guy in that lineup who we see changes their approach when it's a runners in scoring position situation and he knows he needs to get that runner in is DJ LeMahieu. We see him change his swing entirely when there's a man on third and one out. He'll choke up on the bat. He'll make sure he puts the ball in play. He'll work the counts. And we don't have anyone else who puts up that kind of approach at the plate.
The Yankees need a left-handed bat. I'm sorry, but they need more lefties in that line because you can
Tommy LaStella. Where
would he play?
Doesn't matter. Just a utility guy. We didn't know where DJ was going to play when we signed him. He wasn't supposed to be a starter. People forget that. He was a utility man.
I don't know if you can persuade Tommy LaStella the way DJ came, because DJ was going to find his way into that lineup. And but anyway, they need, if you look at 2017, they had a couple lefties in their lineup. But also the Yankees' main kryptonite is sliders away. They can hit a fastball, but sliders away. They hit Bieber well because Bieber's main pitch is a curveball. It's a vertical.
And he doesn't throw that hard.
Exactly. Yankees can hit a fastball, but when you're going from 99 to a 92 to 90-mile-an-hour slider, they need more. One of the best hitters in that Rays series was Aaron Hicks.
Yeah.
He was – Gardner was even getting hits as well. If you looked at – who was he going up against? Well, Stanton's amazing. People forget that. But literally, the report on Judge is out. He did so well in the first half of the year because guys were throwing him stuff up. You throw him stuff low and away, still in the zone, he's going to go fishing.
Yeah, the home runner bust mentality needs to change because it'll work in the middle of June against the Kansas City Royals, but it's not going to work in October against top-tier pitching. And I don't know how many postseasons need to go by until the Yankees realize this. You cannot live and die by the home run. You need to learn how to situational hit. They're not going to advance anywhere in the postseason unless they learn how to do this. And for anyone saying that Didi Gregorius is the answer to balancing out this lineup, he's surely not. I understand that Didi had his playoff moments.
He's too streaky. He's way too
Yeah,
streaky.
I understand he had his playoff moments for the Yankees, but he's no better hitter than any of these guys in the lineup. He's that same home run or bust mentality a lot of the times. Bro, let's not forget the 2019 playoffs. How many times did Didi come up in clutch situations and pop out to the second baseman on the first pitch? Like, it's just unacceptable, and I don't want that back in the lineup. I understand he's a better defensive shortstop than Gleyber, but there's got to be other opportunities out there.
I think Gleyber in the playoffs as it went on, I think he found something in the Cleveland series that shows he doesn't need to be a power hitter. We want Gleyber to be his talent alone will get him to 25, 30 home runs, but he was
never considered a power hitter too when he was coming up.
I mean, is he going to, once he finds his groove, is he going to hit 25 to 30 home runs a year? Yeah. But that comes easily. I mean, here's what I wish. If Stanton's legs were fine, you could put him in left, and then you get Michael Brantley as your DH.
Yeah, that would be huge.
If Michael Brantley, honestly, my guess is the Astros will bring him back, but I love Clint Frazier.
You need a left-handed DJ LeMahieu. That's what you need. And it's not that easy to say, but you got to find him.
You might kill me for this. Have you ever thought about Clint Frazier in center field? And if Michael Brantley can play left field every day, I don't think he can anymore.
What are you trying to say?
You put Clint is weird. He has reverse splits. Lefties kill him.
Yeah.
So, put Hicks against lefties, or at least platoon them. If you can get Michael Brantley on your team, you find a way to get him in that lineup.
Yeah, but then what do you do with Stanton?
Stanton stays as DH.
So you put Brantley in left?
Yeah.
You can't do that in the playoffs, though. You can't do that in the playoffs.
We saw what happens when he was in left against us in the playoffs. Made a diving catch.
I think the important part here is rather than trying to find guys who make contact and hit, I think that they could just use the guys we have now and try to change their approach at the plate. We know Aaron Judge is a very capable, pure hitter. In 2017, before the All-Star break, when he had his little collapse because of the injury, he was batting .330. These guys have the capability to be pure hitters. Gleyber Torres, when he was coming up, I think he had something stupid as his prospect grade for contact. It was a 75 or 80 or something like that. But these guys are hitters, and then once they come up to the Yankees and the Bronx, for some reason the entire approach changes and they become power hitters. It's a shame.
In the entire Rays series, it was a home run fest. There was awful runners in scoring position. It was a home run fest, but that's Yankees Rays games for you. But as you said, at the end of the day, there were times that they look at the Cleveland series, that when the game 2 to be exact, or even game 1 as well, they were hitting with runners in scoring position. Yeah. Then that fucking disappeared.
They're so bipolar. They changed their entire they changed the entire look of the team with a flip of a switch. They go from looking unstoppable to being dead in the span of 24 hours. It's crazy. I've never seen a team do it in my life.
The Yankees, I just have to hope that Aaron Hicks' bad year offensively, not in terms of walks, but in terms of putting the bat on the ball, is a product of his elbow.
Yeah. I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
If that happens, then you have Hicks back, then yeah. But you need another lefty.
Yeah, you have to. The way that they entered this season, thinking that the lineup was going to be able to function just right-handers, I didn't like it. But also, it's you can't just bring in a random left-hander, as they did in ALDS Game 5, and expect him just to hit a home run because he's a lefty, even though the splits don't tell you that he's successful against right-handed pitching. So the entire mentality needs to change. I think the bottom line here is, personally, first move I would make is cleaning out that entire coaching staff besides Matt Blake. That has to happen. I'm interested to see what kind of moves Cashman makes this season, if he makes anything significant to improve this team. But I guess we just have to go on the record of saying 2020 is once again a failure of a season for the New York Yankees.
100%.
So definitely stay tuned for all of our content in the offseason.
We should be getting our Cashman.
Yes.
If it follows the thing, we should be getting the kind of injury report soon enough. guess we are. Gio's on there. Voit should be on there. I mean,
yeah, he will be. Yeah,
I
well, I
don't know
guess
if
we'll
there's,
see. Maybe
but
we'll have some surprises.
yeah, who knows?
All right, well, I guess we'll have to stay tuned for all those moves this offseason. Maybe the Yankees will get a new manager, depending on what they decide to do with Boone. Stay posted for all of our content. We'll be streaming live twice a week, maybe 3 if we're feeling happy. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.